How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Mullen, which was down just under 9% on the day. So it's really clear that we had some profit taking that was going on, but you know what? That's not surprising. We've been talking about that. But let's see what's going to happen going into Friday. Let's go over the game plan. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is a technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on FinTel, taking a look at the recent short interest information. The reason why this is important, because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis from Mullen. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $1.46, being down 8.75%. On the low, it tested $1.36, and then on the high, testing $1.57. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 71.897 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 58.175 million shares. So we had above average volume, but we saw some selling pressure in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it's at 56.58. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, but we are above the 21-day EMA and as well as the 50-day. So what does this tell us? Mullen, there's still some strength here, and it looks like we had a selling day and just some profit taking probably that was going on. We ended up seeing a high of 157. Of course, we wanted to see a higher high or a lower low. We did not get either of that. So what I want to see is us being able to stay above the 50-day moving average. Currently it's at $1.31 and testing support at 136 going into tomorrow. You want to see 130 hold at the minimum. This is very important here. If it does not and it decides to break through the low of day at 136, that's where we test that 50-day, and then we want the 21-day EMA to kick in and say, well, you know what? We're going to hold support here. Bulls are going to show up, and that's around $1.29. If we have a turnaround and we have buyers start coming back into the play, then of course I want to see a move back to $1.70 where we had the high on the previous day. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the short interest information from Mullen. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 53.51%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 27.24 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 0, updated 11 minutes ago. And then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 20.60%. So it's continuing to climb. And then when we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 21st, it was at 33.67. And then for the close of the 22nd, being at 53.51. So that is a significant increase right there. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float, being at 18.86%, this is a play you want to keep on your watch list. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution from Mullen. So we see on the inflows at 20.58 million, and then on the outflows at 20.29 million. So we had an inflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large it was 6.55 million, on the medium it was 10.73 million, and then on the small it was 3.30 million. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large it was 8.26 million, on the medium it was 9.45 million, and then on the small it was 2.58 million. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for today, June the 23rd, we had an outflow of negative 1.71 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, you can see that we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then for the large, it represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 21.75%. No surprises why it's this high. We know that Mullen is a volatile stock and it does grab the attention of a lot of traders. And like I was saying earlier in the video, it's very clear that we had some profit taking that was going on today. We'll talk about it further in the final thoughts, so let's get into it right now. So for my final thoughts for Mullen when it comes to the price action, so we ended up seeing a high of the day at $1.57. So we ended up forming a lower high from yesterday, which was at 171. We also did have a lower low, but you know what? It really doesn't matter. And I'm just going to get straight to the point here. We're still above the 21-day EMA and as well as for the 50-day moving average. So Mullen is continuing to look strong. We did have some profit taking overall on the day, but I did warn you guys about that. So just make sure that you're watching my videos and you're taking your notes so you can come up with a strategy for yourself. But going into tomorrow, what do we want to see? I want to see us continue to have strength above $1.30. If you guys remember, I was saying it wouldn't be too bad if we closed around the $1.40 range. And you know what? We ended up closing at 146. So again, Mullen is continuing to look strong. I am not telling you that you need to rush in and buy the stock either. I'm just letting you know as far as for the technicals are concerned, it is still showing strength. But we have to also know the fact that it did form a lower low and as well as a lower high. So keep that in mind because we want to see a turnaround going into tomorrow. If we don't get that turnaround, that's where we could see a further pullback in the stock going into next week. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent short interest information, we could see that the short borrow fees are continuing to go up. Plus, on top of that, there's a lot of shorts who are vested in this play. So the moment we have some more buying volume coming in, it will continue to move up further. And that's part of the reasons why I'm saying this play needs to stay on your watch list. Just because it had a red day doesn't mean that it's completely done. You have to look for it to actually break through those key levels that we talk about, and then we can revisit it. But in the meantime, if it can continue to consolidate at least above $1.30, most preferably, I would love for it to consolidate above $1.36, then Mullen can make that move to the upside, and who knows, you might be able to test that psychological area at $2 in the near future. But one thing I want to remind you guys about, don't forget about the market conditions. We are still in a bear market. Mullen has ran up quite a bit, so you don't want to be naive. I just want to make sure that you have a strategy in place. You already got your entry in at a good price. Now you need to figure out what your exit strategy is going to be, especially if you haven't come up with one as of yet. Because like I said, it has been seeing a lot of momentum, and I want to make sure that you guys are protecting your profits. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.